working together.
And what about downtown? Anybody get a look at the old clinic building? I see they were putting awnings up there.
That's the Peterson,
Marine
credit
Credit
union.
Union.
Yeah,
I forget what
I was just
what they're
wondering.
called.
Marine Credit Union.
I was wondering how it looked if they got it down
Oh,
there.
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
The awnings are done.
What do they say, December 1st opening, maybe?
No, it should be in November.
November?
Terry Lesser was telling me today that it's gonna go up through next week, or the end of this week,
Through that,
a walkthrough. So it must be pretty close to the end.
Terry Lesser doing some work in there, or what?
He done
I
the
think
work.
he's doing all the work in there, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask, Himley's, that old building, hasn't that been, well, not yet, but deeded to the city down the road?
Yeah, I thought I read somewhere that was supposed to come over to the city.
In, what, 5-year time span, or?
It's in the agreement that it's to use it for
Storage.
it's either for a certain length of time or till, there's a time limit on it, I think, but that was all part of giving land for the jail to sit on. But he gets to keep that building until a certain time, but it's all written out in
It's in that contract.
the deed thing, but I can't
And
remember.
then, was it Terry Benson or Terry Boyne that owns that, kind of warehouse there next to it?
I think it's William.
Terry Boyne? I don't know if he uses that, very much anymore. That could be utilized for some deal. Kids rec hall?
I think like Steve said, that, that's, he needs to work with and lead the discussion with the planning and zoning boards to sort of tighten that up. And it's, we can't decide those kinds of things here, but what about working our opportunities to work with the village? If they're starting the comp plan process, certainly that's gonna affect us. And how do we, I guess, ensure that we work together?
Well, I think we could sit in on their public meetings. That would be one way. We've had some discussions about joint planning at the Tri-City meeting. We went so far as they actually invite planners to come in and discuss doing a joint plan. So we could pursue that. The main issue for the village, as I understand it, is they don't have a comprehensive plan. So they need to develop one first. Since ours is new, I didn't really see a whole lot of purpose for us to spend money on a planner that would primarily benefit the village. What I was looking for is opportunities such as trail development, or whether it's snowmobile or horse trails, linear type structures that we could jointly plan for, and then look at the immediate areas around the cities of Rushford and Peterson and how those are zoned and planned for from the village standpoint. We did that, I think, when I first got here. That the Tri-City group was working on that, and we actually presented what our zoning was on those areas and what the village zoning was, to make sure that there wasn't conflict, and there wasn't. They were pretty, in other words, you didn't have industrial next to housing. They were pretty complementary already. So we didn't see that there was going to be any friction point from that standpoint.
Whatever happened to, remember when Tim Penny was down here? What was that deal for, Kathy? Tim Penny was here a couple years ago, or?
That was a town meeting initiative,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Think we could get him back and try to work the two sides together?
Well, he was at a Tri-City meeting a year ago.
Yeah.
looking
Well, I
or?
mean, he's a good negotiator.
But they don't, that's not what they're, those kind of things, they're not doing that many of those kind of things anymore, you know? In fact, I think you had him come here not too long ago too,
Yeah,
I
I think that'd be a good idea, to try to get somebody in and try to bring the two sides closer together.
Anything else on planning? Oh, please, Myron, go ahead.
On the BRE report, Carol Cherney was here from SMIF because they feel a certain amount of parenthood to the Tri-City concept. So they're watching.
Right, and we made a point to invite them, and Tim stated his positions quite clearly to the Tri-City group when he looked at the maps and was asked a pointed question. So it's pretty clear what his standpoint is.
He just sees one
He sees one city,
entity.
but, you know, again, that's, you know, it's a whole other issue,
Personalities.
so. But as far as making sure that there's no friction points, I think that's already been established. It's more of, from now, I think it's monitoring and being, trying to be part of the discussion as a neighbor, so that we have a clearer understanding. One of the nice things about being in the metro area is all of the comprehensive plans are coordinated. That was supposed to be like the third main function of the Met Council. It's since gone way off course, but comp plans from one community are shared with all the others. So you don't really have too much of that butting heads over area. So we're just gonna have to do that without having it mandated to us. Is there anything else that we're missing, or
We ready to move on?
is that setting the conditions?
Well, I'd just like having you say that having planning and zoning takes some time going through the comprehensive plan is a very good idea. I support that 100%. And we need to update our ordinances anyway. We've been talking about doing that. Not just zoning, but the rest of it we are due for an update. Alright, should we move on to tree board?
Yes.
This has been talked about for a while, what we can do with it. Tree board, example vision, maintain Tree City USA status, enhance the urban community forest. Ideas, reforest the downtown area. Number 2, consider transitioning the tree board into a park and tree committee. And the advantages of the park and tree committee are, Steve's talked about this quite a bit.
One thing that is left off here is something that they're already doing, which is to sort of reinforce our current forest, whatever you wanna call it, throughout the city. So in other words, when a tree comes down, others get planted, and looking at diversity in the types of trees that we have throughout the community. Spent a lot of time putting a study together, and we just planted a whole bunch of trees recently. So keeping current on, you know, our tree inventory, and then as trees are coming down or being affected, that we get